Hello everyone. This is going to be one of the last videos that I post for the year, so I hope you really enjoy it and you have just a happy and healthy holiday season. Today I'm going to be bringing you to two neighborhoods of New York, Tribeca and Chelsea, and we're going to start here today in Tribeca at 52 Walker. But also, if you haven't subscribed, just hit that subscribe button and that notification bell and it'll let you know when I post new videos. So we're in 52 Walker, which is a concept space from David's Werner Gallery that's programmed and led by director Ebony L. Haynes. And a few ways that this space is different from a traditional gallery space is that they don't represent any of the artists that they're showing, even though they do sell the works. And they also don't have exhibits on this 4 to 6 week cycle like the rest of the art world. They have 4 shows a year, and these are planned out years in advance. And I actually really like this because it means that you have a chance to see the exhibit, sometimes even multiple times. But also, if you're not based in New York, maybe you can plan your trip around seeing one of the shows. So, what we're looking at here is an exhibit of works by Tao Lewis. And you got a little sneak peek at some of her work at the Venice Biennale in my last video, which I will link above and below. And this exhibit consists of 6 new sculptures that she's created from salvaged materials and immaculately arranged them together to create these forms. And their form is inspired by Yoruban mask dramas. So Yoruban masks are thought to have a, quote, "a force that extends to the world of spirits and gods." And the exhibition's title is Vox Populi, Vox Dei, which can be translated to, quote, "the voice of the people is the voice of God." So this further speaks to this concept of a person being transformed and transcended into this realm of godliness. This is a feeling that I can deeply relate to when I view art. I certainly feel a sense of spirituality and just connection to something bigger than myself. We're now going to head into Journal Gallery, which is kind of another concept space, but it's the exact opposite of 52 Walker in the sense that they have new exhibits every 2 weeks. I personally don't prefer this because I miss most of them, but I was really happy to make it to this one by Chloe Wise. And similar to 52 Walker, Journal Gallery doesn't represent any of the artists they exhibit, but they do sell the works. So if you're not familiar with Chloe Wise, she's known for creating these portraits that not only capture the essence of her subjects, but highlight and beautify the imperfections of humanity. And I really like how in this exhibit she's utilized these sort of twin canvases to show more of her subjects' personalities. By being able to see multiple angles of a person or their shift in behavior, it almost makes you feel like they're more real and that you're interacting with them right in front of you. We're now going to head over to Grimm Gallery to see an exhibit of works by Gabriela Boyd. And first of all, I love this space so much. It is such a good representation of the charm of Tribeca galleries. These wooden floors are my favorite, even though they can be a bit hazardous sometimes. Little pieces come up occasionally when you're walking. But this is Boyd's first exhibit with Grimm since they announced her representation earlier this year. And the show is titled Mile. And she created these works over the past year between Glasgow and London, where she's based. So each work features a fictional scene composed of these really dreamy elements. And the color palette also at first appears to be quite dreamy. It's got this nice pastel tones to it, but it's mixed with these really kind of unique green tones, which is supposed to represent the relationship between humans and their environment. But overall, the exhibit speaks to a number of themes, such as, quote, journeying, the passage of time, and ultimately the connection between 2 points or 2 people celebrating the act of creating in its entirety. We're now in Chelsea to see some really incredible exhibits, starting with this one by Sterling Ruby at Gagosian Gallery. And the last Sterling Ruby show I saw was in Berlin. I will leave that video linked above and below. And this show is titled Turbines, and it features works that utilize a lot of the same materials that he uses in his Window series. So if you're not familiar with his Window series, firstly, it's spelled WIDW. And they look like these, except for the canvas is divided like a window with these vertical elements, often placed in the center of the work. So these works are far more dynamic. They have these diagonal forms, and they're meant to represent chaotic action from not only things, of course, like turbines and windmills, but hurricanes, explosions, fires, and war. Ruby says, quote, I wanted these paintings to feel turbulent, frenetic, and convulsive. I keep asking myself, how can I make something that inevitably reflects the charged time in which we live to evoke a political tension without being explicitly bound to that interpretation? The works were also inspired by the futurist and constructivism and how they used abstraction as a metaphor for societal changes. So some examples of this are works by Giacomo Balla as well as L. Lisitsky. If you're wondering what these works are made of, they're a combination of acrylic and oil paint, as well as cardboard on canvas. And Ruby creates these works on the floor of his studio, which allows him to apply washes to the canvas as well as footprints and other marks. We're now going to head over to another Gagosian location to see an exhibit by Anselm Kiefer. And this show is complementing his current exhibit at the Doge's Palace in Venice. And I was really fortunate to be able to see that exhibit, so I will leave that video linked above and below if you want to see it. In general, Kiefer's practice is informed by how history, literature, and mythology inform the present. And you'll see references to all of those things in his works in this show. The exhibit is titled Exodus, and in it, he's referencing an exodus of people throughout history by either the monuments he's chosen to paint, as well as some of the text and symbols that he's incorporated into the works. He's included some monuments like the Tempelhof Airport in Berlin and the Monte Cassino Abbey in Italy because they served as places of shelter for those seeking refuge during times of war, for individuals experiencing an exodus from their home. The text you see here in some of these works is Hebrew, and specifically from the book of Exodus in the Old Testament of the Bible. And this is because it's about the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. A lot of the works include actual objects like bicycles and clothing, and in this instance, shopping carts. And they're included because they're meant to represent individuals that are, quote, displaced from home or seeking one, or by immigrants arriving in a new land, freeing from war, oppression, and natural disasters. final exhibit of the day and of the year is going to be Angel Otero's exhibit at Hauser in Wirth. And the show is titled Swimming Where Time Was. And it's Otero's first solo exhibit with the gallery since they announced his representation this year. And Hauser actually has a video of their own with Angel kind of talking through this exhibit, which is really fantastic. So I will leave that linked below as well. You should definitely check that out. But if you're not familiar with Otero's work, he is known for this really incredible technique to create his paintings. He first paints with oil paint on plexiglass and then peels the paint off to create what he calls a skin. And he then collages these onto the canvas to ultimately create the final work that we see here. But that's why you have this incredible texture and depth in his works. And this exhibit is really special because he's introduced fully abstract works into the mix for what I believe is the first time. And his reasoning for this was heavily influenced by kind of the time that we're living in right now, as well as his creative process. So Otero uses his paintings as a method for, quote, self-reflection and analysis. And this normally involves him processing his memories. However, given everything that society has gone through in the past few years, it was much harder for him to process everything. I think we all can relate. So that inability to process has resulted in these fully abstract works coming to life. His abstract, figurative works have a more surrealist feel to them, thanks to the mixing of objects from his present, sometimes his studio surroundings, with objects from his memory, many of which were from his grandmother's house from his childhood. And that's all for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for all of the support that you've given me this year, and I can't wait for all the incredible things to come in 2023.